NASA, as we were just saying, is about 2.5 hours away from sending a crew to the moon for the first time in more than half a century. You are looking at live pictures from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where the Artemis II rocket and Orion spacecraft is on the launch pad. The four-member crew, 3 Americans and 1 Canadian, earlier suited up and made their way to the launch pad to be strapped inside the space capsule for their journey. Now, if it all goes well, and we certainly hope it does, the 10-day mission will take them around the moon and farther from Earth than humans have ever gone. Scott Pace is the director of the Space Policy Institute, and he joins us now. Scott, fill me in, please, because I am nothing but ignorant about these things. The far side of the moon is where they're going. I mean, it sounds like a piece of fiction. And to point out what NASA has always said, right, this is a test run of an ambitious goal to put a permanent base on the moon and then Mars. So explain it to me, the far side of the moon.
Well, the far side of the moon is simply that part of the moon that is always facing away from us. It's sometimes called the dark side of the moon, and it's actually not dark. It's just that we don't see it from Earth. We see the part of the moon we see as the one always facing us. So the far side is also not something that the astronauts will hover over or will stay there. They'll be going around the moon. They won't be going into orbit. They'll be doing a kind of a slingshot around the moon, using its gravity to bring it back to Earth. So unlike, say, the Apollo missions, where the astronauts would orbit the moon and then go down and come back up, this is an out and back kind of mission. And as part of the out and back, they will swing around the back side of the moon, the far side of the moon, to bring them back home. So.
And I'm glad you explained that to us. I believe that NASA says they'll be out of communication for about 45 minutes when they are on that back side, far side of the moon. In terms of this being a test flight, how significant is it in terms of where space exploration will go, let's take it a decade from now, by 2036?
Sure. This is a very important flight because what sometimes people don't realize is not just astronauts or technology that do these things. It's entire organizations, entire teams. So what we have is a team of people, NASA and contractors, coming together to do something that hasn't been done in more than 50 years. And so it's training that team. And something that NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman has talked about is the need to improve the cadence, that is, the number of times and frequencies you do it. If you think about it, if you go to a doctor for a surgery, you want the doctor who's really busy, who's done hundreds and hundreds of surgeries. You don't want the doctor who's maybe done one surgery, every year. So this is an attempt to pick up the cadence, not only start flying back to the moon again, but then in the future fly more often, so that the teams of people we have on the ground and the teams we're putting into space have much more frequent experience. So this is a critical step to moving beyond the Earth again. There's a number of technical things that need to be done on this mission. They need to prove out the life support system. They want to test the fixes and adjustments that have been made to the heat shield that were problems that were noted on the first Artemis mission. But ultimately, this is about a group of people learning to fly again after many, many decades.
And many people are excited about this. I mean, many people are absolutely riveted to what's going on. Those are live shots again from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And yet others are asking, haven't we already been to the moon? And that's why I want to bring up the business side of this. I mean, Americans may ask, is this money well spent? Now, you point out that so far, Artemis has cost about $93 billion. It is set to top $105 billion by 2028. But you say, look, that's, Apollo costs 3 times as much, $320 billion, you say, if it's today's dollars. Do you think that argument holds up, that this is money well spent, that this must be done?
Sure. I think you have to look at the differences in the environment. In the case of the Apollo program, there was a larger geopolitical contest. There was a competition between ourselves and the Soviet Union. And so the idea of a race to the moon was part of this symbolic competition, which was also the audience was the rest of the world, who were looking at these two superpowers and wondering which to follow and which ones would have greater influence and be more powerful in the future. The environment today is much different. We don't have a Cold War space race. We have a long-term enduring competition with China, but we also have many more countries involved. Europe, Japan, actually Latin America, Africa, Middle East, many more countries are now involved in space. So in this environment, what we're doing is not trying to do a one-time event and say that's it. It's rather a sustained push out into space because we are reliant on space for all kinds of reasons, military, economic, as well as symbolic. And the rules for that environment are made by the people who show up there. So if we want to have a say in the future of space and its rules, then we need to be there, and we need to be there with our friends and allies.
Well, Scott Pace, as we are 2 hours and 13 minutes, I am told, from liftoff here, I note your insights with interest, and we will wait to see what the next 10 days looks like. Scott Pace for us. Thanks so much.